Hi everyone, this is Jennifer with Eversweet Apiaries, and I'd like to talk to you and show you how to cut comb honey today. I've had my cut comb in the freezer for about 48 hours, and that's to kill any possible wax moth eggs or small hive beetle eggs that might be in there, so we don't have to worry about that. And this is, I've been thawing it. Hopefully it's thawed out enough for us to cut. And then I had it covered with press and seal just to keep dust and things out. And I'm using a new small hive beetle tray, and that's just used to drain any of the honey away from the comb, because we don't want our comb to be all messy and filled with honey. It's a presentation thing, and so you just want to keep your comb clean. And so that allows like a cookie sheet. Some people use a cookie sheet with a cooling rack, anything like that that will drain the honey away from the pan. We used to use 1/8 hardware cloth over like a tin pan, and that worked well. I just want to try this beetle tray, see how it works, and if it works out good. So here's the frame. And so for cut comb frame, it is an art of beekeeping, which they put up there with queen rearing, and it can be difficult to get sometimes, and you really need a really good strong hive and a nectar flow to get really good cut comb. And so this frame is a very nice frame. It's capped, on both sides, and so you do need the cells to be capped for cut comb honey. So if they didn't fill out like a portion of it right here or cap it, you wouldn't want to use that for comb honey. Now if they had a patch over here that they capped, and then that was, in a square that you could use, then yes, you use that. So sometimes your whole frame might not be usable for cut comb, but some of it is. And some of it might be good enough for chunk honey, which is what you put into a honey jar. But this one is very nice, and so we can use almost everything that's on this frame. So we're going to lay this down, and what you're going to need is a really sharp knife. I've heard and seen people use dental floss before, but you need a really sharp object. And this is a fillet knife, and this works really well. And then you will need your comb cutter. And they have like 2 different sizes. There might be more. But you do want to make sure whatever cutter that you're using will fit into the container that you're using. So, figure out what container you're going to use. Then you want to get a cutter. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that can do it freehand, but this makes it really just simple. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute, to use the cutter, because it's not the way you think it is. And then I like to use a really metal spatula, and that's to maneuver my comb around. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to cut the comb from the frame, and I start on the side here, and you want to cut it as close as you can to the wood frame. And so what you're doing is you're cutting it away from the frame. And let me do. And you want to be sure you don't cut yourself, but just lay it across. And we're going to cut the bottom. And get your hand ready to catch this frame. It might fall forwards, it might fall backwards, or the comb, but you just don't want it flopping out of the frame. So keep that hand, I usually just keep my hand right here, and that keeps it pretty steady. Okay, and so, there, we've removed it from the frame. You can feed this back to your bees, they'll love it. Just going to put that over here. So then you're going to take your cutter, and this whole frame is usable and great. Like I said, sometimes you might have patchy cap, but we can go ahead and And like, you're not cutting, you're not like, it's not like a cookie cutter, so you don't jam it all the way through the comb. You're just marking it, because if you jam it all the way through the comb, you're crushing cells that you don't want to crush. We want nice clean edges, and we don't want to destroy any cells that we don't need to destroy. So the cookie cutter is just to score it. That's all. And I'm going to pick the top corner up here, and like I said, I can use the whole frame here. That looks really good. And you might have a little edge there depending on your size of your frame, but like I can pretty much get like probably 4 combs off of this frame, and then the edge on the side down here, I'll use that for chunk hunting. And I'll show you a close up after I score this. But I'm just lightly, just really, like I said, I'm just marking it with my cutter. Just marking it. And you're just going to line it up right where the other line stops. And that's where you're going to take your fillet knife or whatever you're using to cut, and then you'll cut from there. Okay, that's it. And then I'll go back and I'll clean it up with the knife. So let me get the camera here. I hope you can see that. Sorry, camera skills suck. So it's just scored. Just not cut all the way through, just scored. And now I'll go back and I'll take my knife and cut those lines all the way through. I think I might like the 1/8 screen better. Like I said, this is the first time I'm using the beetle tray to drain it. So far, I don't know, not a fan really. Okay, so, and then I'm going to go back and clean up these edges here. And they're a little bit rough, and that's where they were attached to the frame, and they were outside of the cutter, so I'm just going to get rid of them. Again, you can feed that back to the bees if you want, or you can put it to your capping collection or wax collection. I'm just cleaning up the edges, so we just want it. It's really about presentation, cut comb. You don't want a bunch of raggedy edges. So we just want nice, clean edges. Now, like I said, if I was doing this for show, you definitely don't want raggedy edges for show hunting. There are a little bit of cells here that are kind of open. 1 or 2 is fine. You just don't want a bunch. So all the edges look pretty good. And then I'm going to take my spatula and just move it a little bit. That's why it's nice to have a metal spatula, because it's nice and thin to get underneath there. I just want to move it away from each other so they can drain. And usually overnight, just let those drain. And when I say drain, it's the edges that we just cut. We want that to drain away. Because if you went ahead and put this in a container right now, it's going to drain and pool in the container and look messy. And so, like I said, again, it's all about presentation. So that's really about it. And then after this would drain, I would just use the spatula and put it in its container. I like the plastic clear containers. There's different containers out there, like the clamshell plastic deli looking containers. I don't really like them. I like the hard ones. They just look better. But that's really about it. And hopefully I can make another video on show cut comb and the frame honey. Like I said, that's just a little bit more in depth. But that's about it for now. Thanks for watching, and happy beekeeping.